Hello and welcome. Very excited to have all of you here and very much looking forward to the conversation today. This is all about you. And what that means is we're here to get your questions answered about what it means to get trained in coaching and become a coach. So we'll talk through that process. Now, many of you submitted questions ahead of time. I'll work very hard to address those as we go. I am also inviting you to ask additional questions throughout. You can do that one of two ways. Those of you that are brave and okay with being recorded and on our YouTube channel can raise your hand and you can come on live and ask your question. Those of you that want to type it into the question panel, I will monitor that. So that's in the control panel for your webinar, and I'll watch that all the way through. So you've got options. This is your time. Make sure you get what you want to know out of the conversation. The focus here is for people who are thinking about becoming a coach. And so this conversation is addressing coaching certification. If you have questions that are outside the scope of that, feel free to ask those anyway, and I will stay on afterwards and address them then, or we can talk offline. So this is different than any kind of training itself. It's really about exploring whether or not you want to engage in the coach training. A couple of you did ask whether you'll have access to this information again later, and the answer is yes, of course you will. We will load this on our YouTube channel, and we will send everyone who registered a link so that you can watch it. All right, what are we going to talk about today? So the agenda will define coaching, what it is. We'll talk about coaching statistics, some of the insights based on the research around coaching. We're going to walk you through the Center for Coaching Certification Staircase to Success coaching model. It describes the coaching relationship. And then we'll also talk about the coaching process itself. We'll discuss the pros and cons of certification as a coach, reasons people choose the Center for Coaching Certification, what to look for wherever you go in terms of a training program, what the opportunities are for people who are coaches, and then of course we'll walk you through the programs we offer. So first, I like to start with the paradox of coaching because I think it's a great way to start understanding the definition of coaching. And the paradox is this: coaching is a skill set that you can use in all walks of life, professional and personal. So it's a skill set that we can use when mentoring, managing, doing counseling or therapy, consulting, any kind of a leadership role. I often say that as a mother, a grandmother, a wife, I'm better because of learning coaching. The paradox is that the skills that are used when mentoring, when managing, when doing counseling and or therapy, when consulting or when leading are actually inappropriate when you're coaching. So we're going to dig into that. These other roles that we're talking about, people in those roles are the expert and they come in knowing answers. And in coaching, it's different. So very specifically, let's take a look at the definition from the International Coach Federation. They say, and whatever type of coaching it is a strategic partnership. Now think about the implication of that word in and of itself, partnership. A coach is not the expert. We truly come in as a partner. We're on the same level as the person we're working with. It goes on to say the coach empowers the client. That means we truly put the client in the driver's seat. They are in charge. It is their choice where they want to go on this journey. And ultimately, it is the client who clarifies their own goals, creates their own action plans, figures out how to move past their obstacles and does it. And ultimately, it's the client achieving what they choose. Coaching is about giving them a process for making all of that happen. So Oftentimes people say, okay, tell me about the International Coach Federation. Who are they? What are they? How is this important to us? In the coaching world, the International Coach Federation is at the forefront in terms of what's happening. So think about it this way. Hundreds of years ago, you didn't say, oh, I'm going to go to med school. Well, that didn't even exist. You just said, I'm going to be a doctor and started being a doctor. And hundreds of years ago, you didn't go to school to be a therapist or a counselor. You just started doing it. And now, guess what? That changed. Coaching is going through that same evolution. We will either successfully self-regulate as a profession, or governments all over the world will step in and regulate the profession. The International Coach Federation is the largest self-regulating body in the coaching world and seen as the gold standard. Are there other organizations? Yes. Are they as large and doing as much and at the forefront of the self-regulation? No. Very different. So who are they? What are they? First off, they are a nonprofit. This is our self-regulating body as an organization, which means that the members of the International Coach Federation are professionals in the coaching world. They are our gold standard in terms of having our code of ethics. This is where it comes from. This is how we function. Members of the International Coach Federation are accountable to that code of ethics. They also have standards, and the standards include approving training programs. So if you're thinking about becoming a coach, your number one priority in a training program is that it's approved by the International Coach Federation. They have standards for becoming a member. They require members to have at least 60 hours of training as a coach. They also have standards for credentialing, and we're going to walk you through what it takes to earn each of the different credentials offered by the International Coach Federation. Let's start with some insights and some statistics on coaching. It is the second fastest growing profession in the world. Number one is IT. Number two is coaching. What does that tell you? It keeps growing. It's working. I love this quote. Forbes magazine put out the question, do you have a coach? And literally said, if not, you could be limiting your career success. That's pretty bold. Well, it's actually backed up by the research. Let me share with you. Amoco Corporation, which is now part of British Petroleum, did an evaluation of coaching. And what I love about this particular study is they evaluated it over 10 years. And here's what they found. The people that had a coach, in addition to improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, they experienced 50% higher average salary increases. Okay, now we get how not having a coach actually limits your career success. 50% higher average salary increases, that's huge in terms of the impact there. And the people that had a coach attributed the results to the coaching they received. That's a powerful study. Very, very exciting to know the impact of what we're talking about offering people. It is considered the tool of choice in organizational development. And the reason coaches are hired, this study was done by Harvard Business Review. First off, 48% of the time, it is to develop high potentials or to facilitate a transition. So there's change happening, people are moving into leadership roles, etc. And having a coach is going to enhance their outcomes. It's going to support their success, and it has a long-term impact above and beyond the coaching sessions themselves. 26% of the time, a coach is brought in to act as a sounding board. We see this most commonly happen at the highest levels in organizations. So when you have the very top executives, most companies are providing them with coaches. And at that level, the coach is often there simply as the sounding board. It's not to help them set a goal and achieve it. It is to help them think. And it's an opportunity for them to think out loud and to have somebody that challenges their thinking and expands their thinking. And this results in better decision making, better ways of functioning. Now, 12% of the time, a coach is brought in to address a derailing behavior. Sometimes we have people that misunderstand this. They see it as a negative. The reality is, when you have a coach to address a behavior, it's a positive, because what it says is the organization believes in you. They want to keep you. They want to support your success. They recognize something's getting in the way. Well, guess what? Welcome to the human race. We all have things that get in our way. And by having a coach to support you addressing whatever that is, it means ultimately you get to be successful in that role. So it's powerful. Having a coach in an organization is very much like saying, okay, I've arrived. I get the corner office with the window. And what we are seeing now increasingly is that when people negotiate for a new job, part of that negotiation is often including asking for a coach and making sure that the company is going to provide that. That's exciting. As we all explore moving into coaching, that's exciting to know. Now, an interesting piece that came out of this particular study is that 76% of the time when coaching in the workplace, personal issues got addressed. And sometimes I have people surprised by that. They're, oh, aren't we supposed to only talk about the job? Well, here's what we know in coaching. If you want the impact that coaching can bring, a holistic approach is how you're going to get there. And that means, yes, being open to addressing whatever personal things the client wants to address. Because whatever's happening in their world outside of work does come to work with them, and it impacts them on the job. So when we are open to working with them on that, it means when they're at work, they can be fully engaged. And that's huge. Now, if an individual hires a coach for themselves, what are the reasons they choose to do that? Well, ICF sponsored a study, and here's what they found. People want to optimize their own performance and increase their own productivity. They want to improve their communication skills. They want to expand their career opportunities. We saw the impact of it there. They want to increase their self-esteem, because ultimately, back to, we're all human. And this is one of the things that gets in our way most often, whether we're lacking confidence in ourselves and our own ability and our worthiness, whether we have fear of success or fear of failure. This is going to make a difference in how effectively we move forward. Having a coach is a tool for improving work-life balance and for business management. Think about all the entrepreneurs out there in the world starting and running their own businesses. Having a coach absolutely makes sense because of the impact it has on their results. Fortune magazine put this out. Business coaching is attracting America's top CEOs because it works. And the average return on investment is 6 times the cost, 600%. I don't know of anything that gives that kind of a return on investment. And to me, it begs the question, okay, how can anyone afford not to have a coach? If you're going to get 600% return on investment, that's phenomenal. Okay, let's go into the bottom line impact. So first off, Metrics Global, and this is one of the more commonly cited studies around the return on investment. And here's what they found. A 529% return on investment. And if you added the financial benefits from employee retention, which is huge in the corporate space right now, 788% return on investment. That's phenomenal. That is super exciting. Another one, let's talk productivity. So a go-to forever, it seems, has been to provide training. And when a company provides training, productivity improves 22.4%. That's exciting. Now, when they combine training with coaching, productivity goes up 88%. This study was done by Public Personnel Management. It's telling us that when you add coaching, you multiply the impact on productivity by 4. Wow. Here's one more. Xerox Corporation said, and they did a study on this, in the absence of follow-up coaching, 87% of the skills change brought around by training or development is lost. So what that tells you is even when you're doing coach training, you want to be aware and say, okay, I got to have follow-up on this because I want to retain what I learned. So important insight. When somebody is deciding who to hire as a coach, the way they make that decision is looking for someone with experience in a similar setting. The concept behind that is they want to know somebody understands their world, what's going on for them. So what that means, and we get asked these questions a lot. If somebody just graduated from high school, is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company going to hire them to coach them? No, they're not. They're going to say, no, that person doesn't have enough experience. They don't understand my world. Alternatively, is a high school student going to hire that person? They're going to say, yeah, that is the right person for me. They just went through what I'm going through. They get it, and they can make a difference for me. Where we see coaching work, interestingly enough, as much as the individual seeking a coach is looking for experience in a similar setting, the success of the coaching is based on the rapport between the coach and the client. And so it's essential that there's that level of connection. Now, the second reason people choose a particular coach is that they have a clear methodology. What that means to each of you is that when you go through coach training, you learn a process. You have a way of working with your client. And that clear methodology is something they want to know is in place when they work with you. So let's talk about how all of that comes together. The analogy we're going to give you is the staircase. So imagine you're going to build a staircase. And if you're going to build a staircase, the first thing you do is put your framework in place. Got to have that. In a coaching relationship, when you're going to build that relationship, what is the framework? Well, it starts with your training as a coach. That's you developing the skill set and the knowledge specific to coaching. It then moves into you developing your competency, which is part of that training that's happening, the specific competencies of a coach. And it's you having your code of ethics. And again, your training for coaching is going to include learning the coaching code of ethics. Now, a lot of it, you're going to say, yeah, that's familiar. I know that. I'm comfortable with being ethical, and that is absolutely on target. And some of it is going to surprise you because there are significant nuances and differences. So really learning that makes sense. Now, once you have your framework in place, you're ready to build the steps. In a coaching relationship, the very first step is an agreement. And when we say agreement, it happens in 3 different ways. So first off, before you even start the relationship, you're talking about what coaching is and what it is not. And it's getting clear on that. So that means having an agreement in that conversation, a common understanding of coaching. The second place it happens is an actual written agreement. So for example, when people graduate from our programs, we give you access to 5 different examples of written agreements. That is part of that agreement phase of the relationship. And then the third place it happens is every single coaching session. At the very beginning of the session, there's going to be an agreement in terms of what the client wants to focus on and what they want to accomplish in that particular coaching session. When you have the agreement in place in all 3 places, then what happens is your next step is understanding. What does this mean? Well, for the client, it's them understanding their own priorities and motivators, etc., which happens through the coaching process. For the coach, it's our job to understand the client. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? What's going on for them? And truly understanding them. With that understanding in place, you're set up to develop rapport. That number one indicator of success in the coaching relationship. Rapport is based on trust. When a client knows you've built your framework with your training, your competency, and your ethics, and you've got your agreement in place, and when you take the time and focus on the client to truly understand them, all of that supports creating rapport. When the rapport is in place, the communication opens up. The client is trusting the coach. They're able to open up and share and explore and think out loud, as we discussed. And through that communication process, the coach is asking the client powerful questions. And this is supporting the client in their exploration. What is it they want? What are their possibilities and opportunities? What are their potential challenges? How are they going to move past those? And throughout this process, you're setting things in place to create their strategy, to define how they're going to approach things, what their actions are. And this in turn supports the client moving through that doorway to success, with the success being defined by the client. So that's a model for the relationship itself. Now let's talk about the process for coaching. So when we are going to start coaching with a new client, the first thing we want to do is have what we call an introductory session. The idea here is to get to know each other. The coach gets to know the client gets to know the coach. They get to explore, hey, are we going to work well together? And included with that, the client gets to experience coaching, a little taste of what it's like to work with you as a coach. This supports making the decision. Do we really want to engage in this relationship? Because engaging in a coaching relationship is based on both of us being confident it is going to benefit the client and serve them. When we decide to move forward, the first thing we do is an opening coaching session. And in that opening coaching session, we're exploring what the client wants, and ideally what they want in all different areas, for a holistic approach in that coaching relationship, because we know that's how you get a long-term result. And when we're aware of what they want in all different areas, we know how to support them for maintaining their focus and truly engaging and moving toward what they want. Think about it this way. So often people have New Year's resolutions, they have goals, and those things get lost because life is busy. And so having somebody stay focused on what it is they want and truly engaged in it is going to make a difference in terms of them moving forward and moving forward effectively, efficiently. Then on an ongoing basis for that coaching relationship, in each session, the client prioritizes what they want to work on and even how they want to work on it. The coach supports them in developing their strategies and their action plan. And the coach is an accountability partner. That means checking in with the client on how they're doing, their follow through with their action plan, and recognizing progress and success along the way. When it comes time to close out the coaching relationship, you want to make sure that this process has set the client up for the long term. It's really powerful to review what they've learned, what they're doing, how they're going to continue to maintain what they've accomplished and build on it. And in a closing session, we check in with the client on the benefits to them, their ROI for the coaching. And one of the things we do as coaches is we make sure that while we're closing out the relationship right now, the door is open for them to come back in the future. And as a coach, you will find clients do come back. Sometimes 6 months later, sometimes a year or 2 years or 5 years later, they'll reach out to you again and come back for more coaching. And that's a good thing. It means they come when it's going to serve them, when they're working on something, and really want that opportunity to think and strategize. Now let's dig into certifications specifically. What are the pros? What are the cons? So first off, the International Coach Federation said this: 83% of individuals who were in a coaching relationship believe it's important for the coach to be certified or to have a credential. And please know that every year, every time this research is done, the number is going up. It's much like a buyer beware scenario where people are learning to ask the question. It used to be they didn't even know that they had to ask if you had training or experience or ethics or anything. Now they know. And so more and more we're seeing people ask for that. I know that on our coaching firm side, we have organizations who are saying more and more frequently, in addition to requiring that people be part of the ICF, they're actually looking for people that have a credential. And that's starting to become a standard in terms of companies hiring coaches. So very, very important. Now, I'd love to say it's all pros to getting coach training. Of course, I'm passionate about it. I absolutely love coaching and the skills that go with it. I do recognize there are cons, and they're the same cons that go along with any type of education you're talking about. It takes time and it takes money. Think about it. We put time into going to grade school and high school, and for people that go on to earn a degree, it took time and it took money. The same is true of coaching certification. If those two factors were not there, everybody would do it. Absolutely everybody. So in a way, it's a good thing that that's a barrier, because we want to have opportunity for those of us that do pursue it. We want it to be people that care about what they're doing and are willing to invest in it. Now, on the pro side for certification, it is a tremendous career advancement opportunity. How does this come out? Well, a couple of ways. Some of you said, okay, what are the job possibilities, et cetera? So let's look at things. First off, if you're in any kind of a leadership role, coaching is now seen as a competency for a leader. It's an expectation these days. If you happen to be in HR, coaching is considered a competency area. If you're in talent development, a professional trainer, it's considered a core competency for you. We are seeing it impact people in positions all over the place. Another big one, by the way, your success as a project manager is completely enhanced with the coaching skills. So it's opening doors for people in all different kinds of careers. Now, several of you said, do people hire coaches? There are companies that have coaching programs, usually the bigger ones, and they hire people just for the purpose of being a coach. And so it's definitely an opportunity there. Now, of course, where you live and where you're looking for a job, you've got to look at what's available in your area and what their requirements are if you want to get hired as a coach. In addition to that, yes, there are coaching firms. So I mentioned we have one. For example, we just got word on another contract, and we're going to be placing our graduates in those coaching positions. And what that means is we're looking at people that have gone through certification and making sure they're a good fit for those coaching opportunities. They are self-employed. It is a way that people are building that. Now, another pro of coaching certification is the business development opportunity. So we have people that are moving into coaching because they're going to have a part-time business or a full-time business. And we have a lot of people that are doing it because they're going to add the service to what they already offer in the business they have. So let's go further with this. I mentioned that I was going to talk about, okay, becoming a coach, ICF credentials. What does all of this mean if you're going to get certified, training, etc.? So let's walk through the process. First off, if you want to become a member of the International Coach Federation, they require you to have 60 hours of training. From there, they have 3 levels of credentialing. The first level is called the ACC. In addition to that 60 hours of training that they require, they also require you have 100 hours of experience as a coach. Of those 100 hours, 75 must be paid hours. They require you to work with a mentor coach. And I know a couple of people submitted questions ahead of time on this. What is that? So a mentor coach is a coach who also does mentoring and is working with you on your coaching competencies so that you're really learning the application and what it looks like and sounds like and feels like when you're demonstrating those competencies in a coaching engagement. There are some very specific parameters around the mentor coaching. And yes, we do offer the mentor coaching for all 3 levels of credentialing. So that's available to you. Okay, hope that answered your questions. If you have more on that regard, please feel free to raise your hand or type them in. When you apply for the ACC credential, you have to submit your 60 hours of training, your 100 hours of coaching experience, your 10 hours of mentor coaching, and you submit a recording of yourself coaching. It's you coaching an actual client for 20 to 60 minutes, and they have you submit the actual recording and a transcript of the recording. That is going to be assessed, and they have trained assessors for that. Then, when all of that is approved, the next thing they do is they have you take a test. It's an exam. You complete it online on your computer. They give you up to 3 hours, and you do it in one sitting. That's the process for the first level of credentialing. At the second level of credentialing, called the PCC, the training hours more than doubles. They now require 125 hours of training. That's at the PCC level. The experience hours goes to 500. You again do the mentor coaching. Now, sometimes people say, okay, can I go straight to the PCC? Yes, you can, if you want to get all of those things in place. And sometimes people say, okay, can what I do at the ACC level be applied at the PCC level? Well, the training hours, yes. The experience hours, yes. If you submit your mentor coaching at the ACC credential level, then you do it again when you apply for the PCC credential. At the PCC level, you submit 2 recordings of yourself. They are assessed at a higher level in terms of expectations around your competency. If you took the exam at the ACC level, it's the same exam at the PCC level. So if you've already taken it for that, you're done. If you went straight to the PCC, then you're going to take it at that level. Now, to become an MCC, which is the 3rd level of credentialing, here's what they tell you. You must have your PCC first. That means earn your PCC credential, hold it for 3 years before you can apply for the MCC credential. Now, with that, your training hours goes up to 200, 2,500 hours of experience. The mentor coaching, the recordings of yourself, and the exam are all going to be there. Now, this carries forward from the PCC. The hours of experience, these are part of what's required in terms of experience and training. The mentor coaching will be specifically at that MCC level, and you'll have new recordings of yourself as a coach. So I believe that answered all the questions that were submitted. If you have more, again, feel free to raise your hand, submit an additional question. Let's move forward in terms of what that looks like at the Center for Coaching Certification. So very specifically, if you want to become a member, the process with us is you start with the Certified Professional Coach Program, and then you take the Certified Master Coach Program. If you want to earn the ACC credential, those 2 training classes, and then add the mentor coaching. The experience hours, the record is something you do on your own. The recording is something you work with your mentor coach on. If you want to go to the PCC level, you do the Certified Professional, the Certified Master. You also will take the Certified Coach Specialist and the Coaching Practicum, and then do your mentor coaching. If you want to go to the MCC level, earn your PCC first through all of these training programs. You will also have additional opportunities with conferences. And then we see a lot of people go into some very highly specialized training that is based on the type of coaching they offer. Now, and of course, your mentor coaching. What I can tell you is that predominantly people go after these two credentials. And for most coaches, this gets you there. There is a very small percentage of people that go to the MCC level, and the impact is more if you move into the training world as compared to if you're staying in the coaching world. So again, I hope that clarifies. If you have additional questions on this, please raise your hand, submit it, hang on afterwards, we'll talk about it. So if I give you a very direct visual of what this means, this is your path right here to go to the ACC credential. If you want to go to the PCC credential, you're going to add the additional training hours. So it's both options are there. It's up to you to choose which way you want to go and in what order. It's your choice. Okay, now let's dig into your choosing certification. How do you choose? What I can give you is what people tell us about the reasons they chose certification with us. First off, the credibility of the organization, and how they determine that is all of the accreditations we have for the programs. The next thing people tell us about is they really looked at what we offer in terms of tools for our coaches. And if you look on the website, you will see we have coach login pages. What you can't see is what's there. Tons of tools for people. And then there's a lot more that is visible on the website in terms of what we offer to support people as a coach. Ongoing support with the Center for Coaching Certification includes obviously the resources, the free continuing education programs we have, the amount of content we put out, and simply our availability to people. A lot of people choose us because they're looking for professional development. So very specifically, they have other accreditations, designations, etc., that require continuing education. And one of our accreditations, which is unique in the coach training world, actually gives you the professional development units for other professional designations. So that's a big win for people. A lot of people talk about the personal development that comes out of the process, the way the program is set up and what you gain, huge personal development opportunity. And we give you an assessment dashboard. That doesn't cost you anything. You have your own dashboard, you can brand it. And from that dashboard, you have multiple assessments that you can then administer, and your cost on administering the assessments is wholesale. It's really creating the link and people take the assessment. So you have that access. If you want to go on and get certified in some of those assessments, you can do that as well. So a fabulous resource. You can get a sneak peek at it by looking on our website. So do go there, take some time to check it out. Now let's keep going. What else really counts? Well, back to the time and money factor, those big barriers. Let's look at what happens. There are training programs that range from a couple hours on through 10 years and more. What I can tell you is if it's a program that's a matter of hours, as a matter of fact, anything less than 30 hours, ICF doesn't even approve it as coach training. They won't even look at it. So that's an awareness. Yeah, you can take a program for a few hours. That'll give you a little bit of insight. It's not going to get you there. 10 years, wow, that's a long time. You're typically talking a university level program for that kind of a time period. At the Center for Coaching Certification, our professional coach program is 30 hours. That's that first step that you take. What I love about that as the first step is it gives you coaching skills that you can use whatever you do. And it's a great way to dip your toe in the water and say, am I liking this? Is this right for me? Is this working for me? And then when you decide, yeah, it is, that's when you go on and complete the Master Coach program, which is 35 hours. Those two combined get you to the level of qualifying to apply for ICF membership. And if you're going to work toward that ACC credential. back to going on to the PCC credential. Then we have our Certified Coach Specialist program and our coaching experience class. So those are all fabulous opportunities in terms of building toward what you want. As far as location, there are programs that are online. There are programs you travel to. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we work really hard to have a combination available to you. So we do provide the first level training in major cities around the U.S. Any city that we go there once a year. So on our website, you can see the schedule for the rest of 2019. We're currently working on putting together our 2020 schedule. We also have organizations that bring us in for groups. And if you have a group of people, we can schedule something. And then, of course, the program is available where it's completely online. Our international students love that option. And a lot of people, just for convenience or where they are located, love that option. So yes, you can complete it online if you desire that. In terms of cost, you're going to find the ranges all over the place, and it's really tough to decide. I think an analogy that I can give you is frequently, at least in the US, and I know I have international people here, people say, well, the price of the bottle of wine does not tell you how good the bottle of wine is. And that is true in many ways. In terms of coaching certification, you can get a $400 program. That's usually one that's in the couple of hours time period, and it's not going to be ICF approved. It goes on up, and I have 20,000 here. If you're looking at a major university program, that's really low in terms of what it takes to get there. At the Center for Coaching Certification, our professional coach program, that's your first step, is $16.95. Our Master Coach program is $19.95, as is the Coach Specialist program, and our Coaching Experience class is $18.95. I do want to share that one of the things we hear from students frequently is that we should raise our prices. They go and they compare what's out there, they go through the program, they see what they get from it, and we often have people say, okay, you should charge more for this. And we're absolutely delighted to keep it where it is because we've got a model that works and because we want to make it as accessible as possible. And that's our commitment. So we love that it's there and we love that we get that input. All right, let's keep going. In terms of our training model, here's what we look at. First off, we start with the premise that you have a high level of competence already, and the focus in the coach training is to build on the strengths that you bring to the table, further develop specific skills for coaching, and create a synergy between what you already have and the coaching competencies. And so we're very intentional about that. We also believe it's essential to develop your confidence. And here's what that focuses on. In a coaching relationship, we know that the coach being confident in themselves and their own ability, in the coaching process, and in the client and the client's ability is absolutely essential. And equally essential is the client's confidence in their coach, in the coaching process, and in themselves. So our training program is going to give you the tools for supporting and developing confidence. It's going to give you the tools for empowering your client and creating awareness of what they are capable of doing. We also firmly believe in the choice because coaching is all about the client choice. So they're discovering, they're strategizing, and how we partner with them is based on choices that the client is making. So very essential part of how we approach what's happening in your training program. Now, when you look at quality of a training program, I get that it's tough. There are so many choices in terms of coach training. I so appreciate you being here and checking us out. How do you even know? Well, there's a couple of things you can look for. The single most important thing is to look for an ICF approval of the training program. Wherever you go, you want that. Now, that'll still give you hundreds of choices. So how do you further define it? I'm going to say the second most important thing to look for is that the school is part of ACTO. ACTO stands for the Association of Coach Training Organizations. This is to schools what ICF is to individual coaches. ACTO has a code of ethics for training schools. We have competencies for our coach trainers. It is a commitment to who teaches coaching and the skill and the quality and what their knowledge base is on an ongoing basis. Those two still give you lots of options. You still have a lot of choices to make. So let me share some bragging points we have at the Center for Coaching Certification, because this is unique. We are the only coach training school out there that additionally offers you, number one, we are accredited by ICF. So that is the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. And ICF credits, for example, are accepted automatically by SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, HRCI, Human Resource Certification Institute, ATD, the Association for Talent Development. We have a lot of nurses, accountants, financial planners, attorneys, mental health professionals, et cetera, who take this program because they can use the hours to maintain their other designations. We also know that many colleges and universities will accept these credit hours. That's huge. Bang for your buck on that one. Another big one is we are accredited by PMI, the Project Management Institute. So this is continuing education for maintaining your project manager designation. And we are accredited by the Association of Image Consultants International. And so if you are in image consulting, yes, this is approved for maintaining that designation. So I have the question on here of ACTP path versus ACSTH path. Love the question. Thank you for asking it. So here's the difference. If it's an ACTP program, it's an all-in-one. And what that means to you is you sign up and all of your hours, all of your mentor coaching, it's one big package that you cover up front. If you do an ACSTH program, it's basically your a la carte method. So it's usually cost saving to do ACSTH and you pay as you go. So that's the main difference in terms of the standards for the training programs, what's required, the expectations, et cetera. Those are going to be uniform. So those are in place. It's a matter of what works for your schedule and your budget. So hopefully that clarified the difference between those. And if you have another question, type it in again, or if you want to come on live, we can do that too. Now, above and beyond the accreditations that we offer, here's what we like to talk about, our students, because a big part of your learning is enhanced because of who's in the class with you. So who are the participants in the programs that we offer at the Center for Coaching Certification? We see a lot of professionals from these organizations that accept the ICF credits. So ATD, SHRM, HRCI, because it serves them both in learning the coaching, which is a competency area for them, and in maintaining designations they already have. We also see financial planners for that reason, mental health professionals for that reason, project managers, members of AICI, all for the same reasons. In addition to that, on the business side of the house, the National Small Business Administration is an example of where people come from. So we see a lot of business owners. We do see a lot of people from ICF. As a matter of fact, we've had a number of our graduates say to us that they've completed different programs and they literally tell us, I wish I had come here first. And we love to hear that because we really care about the quality of what you get and the quality of the training experience itself. Now, In addition to that, here's what's most significant. People that come to training for becoming a coach have a passion for empowering other people. That's huge. Okay. What to look for wherever you go. You want to make sure your training program is going to be designed to develop all 11 of the core competencies of a coach. So let's take a peek at what those are. This is a quick overview and more details available, and you're going to get it in a program. So the competencies are organized into 4 different areas. The first area of competency is called setting the foundation, and there are 2 coaching competencies here. One is meeting the ethical guidelines and professional standards. What that tells you is look for a training program that specifically includes a class on the code of ethics so that you learn it and you know it and you develop that competency. Establishing the coaching agreement. You want a class that's going to teach you all 3 places where you establish the coaching agreement. The initial conversation, how to have that conversation with somebody about what coaching is and is not, the examples of the written agreement, and practicing with, in the individual coaching session, finding out what the client wants to accomplish during that session. So, very important part of developing yourself as a coach. Next, co-creating the relationship competencies include establishing trust and intimacy. That's back to developing the rapport. We talked about that in that staircase to success model. And what you're looking for in a training program is, are they helping you build that foundation, that framework for it? And are they giving you tools to really understand your client, who they are, how they think, how they process, how they function, what it is for them, so that you are truly present to them, develop that rapport, have that trust and intimacy. The third area of competency is your communication skills. These are probably the most commonly recognized areas of competency for a coach. And the irony of the first one, active listening, is that most of us say, yeah, I'm a pretty good listener. And if you ask most people, do you think others listen well? The answer is, yeah, not so much. So what are the specific techniques, tools, skills in terms of listening that really make a difference in that coaching conversation? You want tips on how to formulate powerful questions. Yes, you want examples. Ultimately, you want to know how to do it, how to ask those powerful questions. So the how-to piece of it. And direct communication. That means being clear, succinct, and respectful in how you communicate. The fourth area of competency includes 4 competencies. The first one is creating awareness. That evolves naturally because you're actively listening, you're asking powerful questions, and the client trusts you, so you have that open engagement and you're truly present to them. Above and beyond that, there are additional pieces of information that really support you in terms of where to go with how you're asking your questions. You also want insight in terms of how the client designs their actions, because different approaches have different impacts. They're planning and goal setting, the same thing. Different approaches have different impacts. So recognizing the different approaches and how to work with the client based on who they are and what's going to work for them. Of course, managing progress and accountability is a big part of what we do as a coach. So it's knowing, yeah, I want to ask, hey, how are they doing with their action steps? And taking time to celebrate their progress, their success along the way, because that supports their motivation for the long term. These competencies are what our entire training is built on. Whatever training you go for, look for all of these competencies being developed. So I had a follow-up question from the previous slide, and it was saying, okay, so if what we're talking about is a la carte, what I'm going to say is, just as we walk through it. So the professional coach class, 30 hours, master coach class, 35 hours, mentor coaching program, 10 hours. We offer each one of those individually. So that will take you professional and master to membership level. At the mentor coaching, that's what you're looking for to go after the ACC credential. And then if you want to do the PCC, the additional training programs. So each step is just as we outlined it. I hope that clarifies it. And of course, I'm happy to go back to the slide or answer additional questions. Who's going to actually benefit from coach training? Oh my gosh, it's so easy for me to say everybody. I think I said earlier, frankly, coach training helped me be a better person. And it is a skill set in whatever walk of life you're in. It's absolutely fabulous. As far as career opportunities, I think insight from what we've seen out there, people leaving their organization is a big issue. And the number one reason they're leaving, and you can see the different studies here, it's because their boss. They don't leave the company, they leave their boss. And so what that tells us is when that leader is developing coaching skills, their retention is going to go up. That's huge. We also, of course, talked about coach training as an opportunity in very specific career fields. So if you're in one of those fields, you're probably familiar with that. And again, happy to answer extra questions. On a personal level, you're going to develop your own communication skills. And that's where it serves you in whatever you do. You're going to develop your people skills, recognizing different personal styles and flexing to them effectively. And you're going to have a fabulous process for goal setting and knowing how to do it in a way that really supports the effort that it takes to change and to follow through on things. As a business opportunity, let me throw up some numbers for you. The ICF studies this, researches it. The range on coaching, yeah, there's a big range. Let me boil it down. If you're doing career coaching or life coaching, $100 a session is pretty common. If you're coaching, and sometimes $200, depends on where you're located and what else you offer. If you're doing business coaching, so a small to mid-sized business, you're usually in the $200 to $400 range. If you're coaching executives, you're in the corporate space, it's in the $400 to $600 range. So hopefully that helps really break that down. Now, I think it's also significant to look at this. I mentioned earlier how big credentialing is. So, and of course, this number changes all the time because there's new members all the time. So as of the last study or the last report, 34,985. So let's say it's easily over 35,000 members, and over 25,000 of those members are credentialed. So that's telling you how big of a deal that is. In terms of opportunity, we mentioned it being the second fastest growing profession. Worldwide, it's well over $2 billion in terms of what's being generated through coaching. So it's definitely an opportunity, whether you're looking for an add-on service or you want to do it as a part or full-time business. The programs we offer at the Center for Coaching Certification, okay? We start the professional coach program with a series of online classes. About Coaching is the first one. It's going to model that first piece of the coaching agreement process where you talk about what coaching is and is not. We do give you examples of written agreement, and in the practicum, we actually practice asking the client what they want out of the session. So that's a fabulous start, and it's a really good, solid development of what coaching is and how it works. Then we move into the class on ethics, that second competency that you're looking for. From there, we go to understanding your client. This is all about who they are so that you're establishing that trust and intimacy. You're totally present to them and who they are. And we're going to give you a tool that keeps you on track with that and supports you creating that rapport. In the communication class, we're giving you specific techniques for each of the communication competencies. And then in focus and motivation, you will love the content in terms of how it applies for supporting clients as they design actions, plan, goal set, and of course, the awareness piece and opening up that thinking. It also is fabulous as far as the accountability factor. Now, each of these classes is followed by either a research homework or a practice and homework. So the research, you do additional reading, you write a report. The practice, you're actually practicing the techniques we discuss in class in your everyday interactions, and you're writing about your outcomes. So it's intended to solidify your learning experience with the application of the content. Then we do a group session where you get to ask whatever questions you want, and we take a sneak peek at the resources we provide you when you graduate. The coaching practicum itself includes 16 hours of coaching where you're going to be the coach, you're going to be the client, and you're going to observe coaching. There's a homework assignment at the halfway point of that class. At the end, there's a case study, and we walk you right through that. It's an outline of how you handle a very initial conversation all the way through a challenge in a coaching engagement. After you complete your certification, to maintain your designation, first off, we do give you a monthly Q&A call. We talk about business and marketing. That's free every month. You can call with your questions as often as you want. We provide you recordings on business and marketing and also of coaching sessions, and then continuing education programs to maintain your certification. So we do a 30-minute program each month. We do a 60-minute program every other month. Those are put up on our website. You can register for as many of those as you want. What it tells you is that we ask for 12 hours every 2 years to maintain certification. We provide 24 hours for free. So it's a great opportunity for you there. The Master Coach program, again, starts with online classes. They include group and team coaching because we're adding this as a skill set in terms of what you're doing and offering as a coach. We also then move into very specifically how you're demonstrating the competencies. So in ethics and agreement, we're going to talk about the first two competencies, what to do and what not to do in terms of applying those competencies in your coaching engagements. During the coaching process, we will talk about the competencies for establishing trust and intimacy and for coaching presence. We're going to go deeper and deeper in terms of how you demonstrate them. So building on what you learned in the first level. In people and communication, we're covering the don'ts and do's for the communication competencies. In creating change with confidence, the don'ts and do's for creating awareness, designing actions, planning and goal setting, and accountability. So a much deeper dive, better application, fabulous in terms of building on what you gain in the first level. Then we do a class on time and money. And just like time and money are the biggest cons to coaching certification for clients in terms of their goals and moving toward what they want, those are their very common barriers, and they're very sensitive topics. There are additional sensitive topics, and it's important that us as coaches are prepared to have those tough conversations and support the client in dealing with them. We have a final debrief class as well because we're going to debrief the practicum piece. For each of these classes, there's some pre-work and a report done after the class. We'll give you specific questions to answer. The practicum itself does include group coaching. That's part of the scheduled classes. And what happens is everybody in the class is going to have a turn to be the coach for the group. And then for the other sessions, you'll be part of the group. It also includes individual coaching. You'll be involved in interviewing classmates and involved in selecting who you want as your coach. And then when you schedule your sessions, it's the coach, the client, and the trainer, and that's it. So you get some fabulous one-on-one attention during that process. At the completion of the program, you write a final report, and that's when you graduate. For the Certified Coach Specialist program, those of you who are going on to the PCC credential, and by the way, we're in the middle of one of these classes now and having so much fun with it. And it is a much deeper dive into the PCC markers specifically that are how your recording is assessed when you submit for a credential. So we again have our online classes. We cover coach competencies and then also the strength area. So it's a review of the competencies and a dive into what strengths make a difference based on the type of coaching you do. Then we move into engaging and understanding your clients, and we take a deeper dive into the competencies at that level for the coaching relationship. And again, hopefully you're catching the build. So in engaging and understanding your clients, what are the markers? How do you know that you're demonstrating these competencies? And having the conversation around that. In the coaching relationship, the competencies for establishing trust and for coaching presence. In client priority management, we're talking about your communication competencies. In the client's future, we're talking about your competencies around creating awareness, the actions, the planning, the accountability. And it's fabulous conversation. We give you multiple models, very rich discussion throughout this program. Then we do a class on challenges and trends. And this is really about you as a coach, what challenges you face, what trends are coming, what to be looking out for, and how to stay current. We do a debrief of the coaching. Now, for each of these classes, there's a reading assignment ahead of time and then a homework assignment afterwards. Again, we'll give you questions to respond to. The practicum is very similar to what we do in the Master Coach class in that it does also include group coaching and individual coaching. The difference is the structure of the sessions, and that is overviewed on the website. When you complete the program, again, a final report serves as your final. For the coaching experience class, this is a great way to simply have additional training hours, and the complete focus is on practicing with your coaching. So we're going to do a review of the competencies and how to evaluate them. Then we're going to do a class on group and team coaching and set that up. And then we're going to have those group sessions, and you're going to have individual sessions as well. So you get lots more experience with that coaching practice, and we'll do a debrief at the end. What are the resources that are included with each of our classes? All of the materials for the class, the login access when you graduate with lots more tools there. The assessment dashboard is provided to you. Opportunities through our coaching firm where we place graduates in those positions. In addition to that, we have a guest blog where you can get yourself out there and start building links back to your site. You can be a guest presenter with some of our continuing education programs. We also publish a book once a year so that we're helping graduates become published authors, and you can participate in that. We have an online directory called Find a Certified Coach, and you can list yourself there when you graduate. And then, of course, you can list yourself with our business development team for the opportunities we find there. All of this is included with your program. So I think part of this is where we get that input of, gosh, this is a great opportunity, a great deal in terms of the pricing. So what are your next steps? First off, you invested your time here. I want to give back. So if you are interested in a 30-minute session, whether you want to use it for coaching or because you have specific questions you want to ask, this is about supporting you to really make your decision and to figure out what's effective for you. I will send you an email with a link to the recording of this conversation. If you reply to that email and ask, I'll give you how to set up 30 minutes and we can have an additional conversation. The application for the coach training program doesn't cost anything to fill that out. It's really a good way to say, okay, here's what's required. I can check that off. And then we ask you about your interest in the program. We ask you about your experience, what you're bringing to the table. This does two things. It helps you think on paper in terms of, hey, am I moving in the right direction here? And for us, it helps us as trainers get to know you. When you look at the schedule and you know which class you want, the way you hold your spot in that class is you pay that registration on it. Now, please know classes do fill up. So if there's a particular class schedule you want, the sooner you grab it, the better, because those classes do fill up. I am happy to hang around as long as any of you are still here. I do realize we've gone over in terms of time. I very much appreciate, I've gotten a lot of comments in the question panel thanking me for the information, glad they got what they wanted. I'm going to hang around as long as you're here. I want to answer additional questions and be available to you. And in the meantime, I want to say thank you, all of you, for your kind words in the question panel. I appreciate that. I'm so glad this was helpful. And what additional questions do you have? Please either raise your hand, type it into the question panel. Please let me know what else I can answer for you. All right, so I'm getting comments again that it was helpful, that you're looking forward to connecting. So all of that is great. And I believe we have answered, just seeing what's scrolling by in the question panel, I believe we've answered what's come in. So that's good. I'm glad to hear we covered what you wanted. I will get this email out to you, and I will look forward to hearing from you and being of service to you. It's so much fun, the journey toward becoming a coach and being a coach. So thank you all.